COP26, the Conference of Parties, is an annual conference that happens to discuss climate change, basically. And it's happening in Glasgow this year. So it's happening from the 31st of October till the 12th of November. And it's set to be the most uninclusive COP yet, basically. So we thought it's really important that everybody on campus and also in Glasgow gets as much information about what's happening as they want and as possible. So I'm going to hand over to COP26 Coalition, who are going to talk about what they're doing during COP.
Thank you. Can you all hear me okay? Hi. It's a bit weird to not be on Zoom and give these talks like offline, but it's like, yeah, it's really nice to see so many people here. So what I'm going to talk about is, so my name is Wung. I work for the COP26 Coalition. I'm the Scottish coordinator of the COP26 Coalition, and we're like a broad civil society alliance, basically, that tries to bring in more than the usual suspects to organize for COP26. That includes trade union groups, that includes Extinction Rebellion, that includes youth strikers, that includes migrant justice groups, but also like faith groups, nature groups, and like some science groups have joined us, and to like really build like a broad front towards the COP and speak with one unified voice towards the UK government and all world government that are going to assemble. And what I'm going to try to say first, before we get to this, I'm going to explain a little bit more about this. And maybe some of you might know a little bit more about this already, but I would like to just get everyone on the same page on this. So COP26, as Dara said, Conference of the Parties. Parties to what? It's parties to the so-called UNFCCC. You're going to hear that quite a lot. UNFCCC means United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. You don't need to write that down. It's just something that basically the UN, all members have agreed, yeah, we need to do something about the climate change. Here's like a set of like international contracts that we've signed, and the Conference of the Parties, COPs, are meetings under this kind of framework to like discuss what is to be done to reduce emissions, to address climate change, how to adapt to like the consequences of climate change. Some of these conferences are quite famous. So the first one was in Rio in 1992. You've probably heard about the Kyoto Protocol that was part of this kind of shenanigans. You've also probably heard about the Paris Agreement, which was in 2015 in, guess where, in Paris, where all nations agreed on like limiting carbon emissions to reach like a below 2 degrees goal, if possible 1.5 degrees, to prevent catastrophic climate breakdown. That is one of the reasons why COP26 is being treated by the government as one of the most important climate conferences ever, because that's the last opportunity to update the climate change pledges under the Paris Agreement before we hit more than 2 degrees warming. And this is kind of like the last chance, because we're already well on target to hit like 2.7 degrees or more. So that's why Boris Johnson, the UN, all the world leaders, Joe Biden, are going to say, this is the last shot, this is the best chance we have. And what I'm going to tell you is that this is not going to work. COP26, we already kind of know that this is not going to deliver on the targets that we need the world government to deliver, because we can already see at the pre-negotiations how the UK government have mismanaged them, that there's no basis for an agreement. We can already see that from the topics they're going to discuss, for example, carbon markets, carbon pricing mechanisms, net zero pledges and stuff, these are all technical solutions that are kind of like hiding what the climate crisis really is. Because the climate crisis is not just like a technical problem that you just kind of like have some kind of techno fix to like plug. The climate crisis is a symptom of a dysfunctioning economic system that results from global inequality and an economic system that drives for profit against human and nature interests. So anything that is being discussed here by the governments of this world won't address the root cause of the climate crisis. And that is something that you really need to remember when this happens in November, because lots of people will have lots of hope, but you can't be fooled and hope that this is going to solve all of the climate crisis, because it won't, and you will end up really disappointed and disengaged if you think that. So additionally, this is one of the, as Dara has mentioned, one of the least inclusive COPs ever. So normally there's a set of like people who go into the negotiations and are observers, so which says on the tin really, they observe the negotiations. They are often like women and gender groups, indigenous communities, NGOs, who are trying to like see what are these people talking about, and they translate it to the public. And lots of these people can't actually make it to COP because of them not having enough vaccination, them not being able to book flights, them not having access to accommodation in Glasgow because they can't afford all the Airbnbs and hotels. So, and plus the number of observers have been cut down by the UK government. So it's like a third to half less observers inside the COP this year. So there's going to be less transparency, less grassroots communities, less indigenous communities who are at the front line of the climate crisis to actually see what's going on during the negotiations. So all this will lead to a catastrophic, super exclusive, super unequal climate negotiation that is going to, at best, come up with an agreement that is not going to solve anything, and at worst, is just going to flop and not going to result in any agreements at all. So that is one of the reasons why we need to mobilize. That is one of the reasons why we all need to go out to the street. Not only on November the 6th, but for all of COP, you need to mobilize your friends, your families, your student societies, everyone you know, to get out and hold Boris Johnson, the UK government, Alok Shah, or whatever the names are, to account, because they have willfully mismanaged and sabotaged this progress. You can say something a lot of fundamental criticism about this, about COP26 normally, but this year's COP26 is worse than usual. So that is one of the reasons why we all need to turn out. The international movement can't come because of COVID, so it's all on us. No one is coming, and we need to turn out to hold the government to account. We're going to gather not far from here on November the 6th, 5 minutes from here at Kelvin Grove Park. We're going to mobilize the biggest demonstration Glasgow has ever seen. We need to turn out everyone in the streets so that we make clear to the world's governments that Glasgow won't stand for this. And you all need to be part of this. I can give you some other details. We are organizing so-called climate justice blocks for the big march because we want to bring in more than the usual suspects. It can't just be young students, hippies, and school strikers all the time. The march is going to be led by indigenous communities and frontline communities who are living on the front lines of the climate crisis. And after that, we want to bring in all of the Scottish diaspora, all migrant justice organizers, all anti-racist organizers, to build a really strong migrant justice bloc at the front with all people of color and Scottish diaspora communities from across Scotland coming together to hold the space together with the indigenous communities at the front. And after that, it's trade unionists who are going to come out. After that, it's nurses, doctors, and health professionals that are going to come out. We're going to have a Scottish independence bloc, if that's your thing. We're going to have youth strikers, of course. Extinction Rebellion is going to join us. Everyone needs to be out on the street on the 6th and beyond that. So please come on November the 6th and tell everyone in your community to come. And just for you to what civil society is planning during the COP events, because the COP negotiations are so technical that no one really understands what's happening on the inside, we're organizing so-called movement assemblies every day from the 31st to the 12th for the entire time of COP. At Adelaide Place on Bath Street, every day at 5 p.m, there's going to be some negotiators and observers coming out and basically translate to us what's going on the inside, what has been discussed, who has said what country was the worst. So these kind of things we need to know so that we can organize spontaneous actions every day against the world's government and hold them to account and tell them that we're listening. So if you're interested, come to that. After that, we're gonna, at the very beginning, we're gonna have a really big opening assembly, hopefully quite close to the COP venues. And on the 1st of November, if you have banners, if you don't, paint one, but hang them out across Glasgow everywhere. We want to plaster all of Glasgow in climate justice banners so that the governments of the world, when they come in, they can not see what Glasgow thinks about them. So please take part in that too. On the 5th, there's going to be a youth strike in Scotland, led by Friends for Future. And after that, Global Day of Action on November the 6th, we're going to march from Kelvin Grove Park down to Argyle Street where the COP is. Then we're going to go over to George Square, hold a little session there, go down to Glasgow Green where we're going to hold a rally at 3 p.m. And you're all welcome to come. And after that, until the Wednesday, we're holding a People's Summit where we're holding civil society organizations together, holding workshops, events, and talks where you can learn about climate justice, listen to activists from across the world, and strategize where to go next for the climate movement overall. And yeah, and hopefully on the 13th, when it's all over, we can either cry together or laugh together. So let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, so that's the People Summit. We're going to have over 100 sessions across Glasgow because of COVID, we didn't just book like one big hall to get everyone in, but we have over like 13 venues, mostly in the Charing Cross area, hosting loads of events, but we're also having loads of online events. So if you don't fancy leaving your bed, you can also just log into another Zoom call and listen to some discussions, workshops, and so on. And yeah, like please come, please tell everyone about them, and we need all hands on deck going forward. So yeah, if you can, mobilize all of your people, your classes, your student societies, your families across the UK to participate in this, whether they can come to Glasgow or whether they can mobilize their hometown in, I don't know, Dunbar. That's something we all need to do so that we can mobilize across the UK and show the UK government that they fucked up. If you're here in Glasgow, join the Glasgow local group. We're meeting every Wednesday at 5 p.m, alternating in person and online. Tomorrow we're meeting in the CCA, the Centre for Contemporary Arts, at 5 p.m. If you want to drop by for a cup of tea and meet the team and think about how we can do outreach to communities across Glasgow, please join there. And yeah, if you have a spare room, I assume you don't because you're students, right? But yeah, so if you're really rich and have a spare room in your house, please consider giving that spare room to an international activist because no one can afford to actually stay in Glasgow because yeah, Airbnb is trying to earn some money through this. And if you still have capacity left, consider volunteering for us. Go to our website, COP26Coalition.org, and click on volunteering. We still need capacity, whether it's stewarding, like COVID safety, managing some of the events. We need all hands on deck for the People Summit going forward, so please get involved. And I'm going to stop here, but last words, COP26 is not going to deliver us climate justice. Please remember that, but it's a moment that we can use to build the climate movement from the ground up. And yeah, let's do that together. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so that was really great. And now we've just got Molly from GUEST as well to talk about what they're doing.
So, hi everyone, my name is Molly and I'm a coordinator for GUEST, which is Glasgow University Environmental Sustainability Team. So I am actually employed by the university and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we're doing for COP. So as I said, we are a team of 12 student interns and we have 8 different branches: food, biodiversity, transport, sustainable laboratories, community engagement, student engagement, communications and social media. I think I've got everything there. And we basically work on improving the environmental practice of the university. Obviously we're limited what we do because we're limited with resources and we are just students, but I don't know if that tells you anything about the university's priorities. So during COP, we recognise everything that the COP26 Coalition have just said, that the negotiations are going to be inaccessible, they're going to be flawed, they are not going to achieve what we need for the climate. So we want to focus on COP more about the momentum and the conversations that can develop around COP and all the events happening around it, not just within the physical negotiations in the hydro. So we've sort of come up with a little program of events, of projects that we're going to run during COP you can get involved in, hopefully. The main thing we're doing is a youth hub in the QMU through every day during COP, apart from the weekends. We rest on weekends. It's 9 to 5 in the QMU, and we're basically going to be running lots of workshops, skill sharing, things like that, with other organisations. It's not just us that've done it. So we've teamed up with YFOS, which is Young Friends of the Earth Scotland, UKYCC, which is the UK Youth Climate Coalition. There's also other groups like the Resilience Project who work on climate change and mental health, and loads of other workshops in the running with organisations like People and Planet, Common Ground, Climate Fresk, loads of different groups, community organisations around Glasgow. And we're going to be running a different program of workshops. We haven't got a finalised program yet, we're still coming together, but at the moment we've got things about climate change and mental health, creating sustainable food policy, a just transition for North Sea oil and gas, green economy, power and privilege workshop, campaign skills. There's also going to be stuff about transport, about sustainable transport and why that's so flawed in Glasgow. So really diverse program of events. And that is, of course, not to take away from all the other events that the COP26 Coalition and various groups are doing during Glasgow, because it's going to be a very, very packed 2 weeks. So it's up to you what you want to come and get involved in. And the other thing that we're doing alongside the Youth Hub is a project called Student Journalism at COP, because as we've just heard, there's going to be a lot of jargon, there's going to be a lot of sort of negotiations going on that are inaccessible. It's academic language, it's just really impossible to work out, and it's deliberately made that way so you don't understand what the government's getting up to. So we're doing a little project called Student Journalism at COP, which is we're assembling a team of volunteer journalists to report on COP, not just on sort of the actual negotiations, but like opinion pieces, sort of producing climate art. So it doesn't have to be just written work, it can be like films, poetry, any sort of project, creativity that comes out of COP. And yeah, we're going to be developing this and publishing everything that we have on our blog and possibly in like a little physical magazine or exhibition afterwards. And that's basically just because we want COP to be accessible. We want people to understand what's going on, and for students to understand it, and it's best if it's done through other students. But yeah, and that will also be run alongside the Youth Hub. So yeah, those are our main projects that we're doing at the moment, because we didn't think that the university was doing enough to get students involved in COP, which is it's crazy because we have this in our city for the first time, and we need to make the most out of it. Because even if the negotiations, as I say, aren't the most aren't useful at all, then we can use momentum around it to really gain something out of it. And yeah, so this is just a little QR code. I actually don't have any leaflets with me today, which is really annoying, but if you scan this or you go to any of our social media, you can get involved with us, not just with COP, but throughout the year. We have, so our biodiversity and food branches, we have gardens up by the library. If you feel late, when we do gardening sessions, we do like seedling workshops, you can grow your own food, we do things like that. We also do like climate book clubs, we work with community organisations to volunteer with getting kids from local primary schools in more deprived areas of Glasgow out working with nature, working with biodiversity. Yeah, so we have 8 different branches, so you're welcome to sign up and volunteer with any of these different projects. And yeah, we have a newsletter, you can sign up and get involved, and yeah. That's all I've got to say. Okay. Thank you so much. Great. So yeah, that was GUEST. And now I'm just going to talk a bit about XR. So Extinction Rebellion Glasgow, they have their meetings on a Monday, so they just had a meeting, and then they're a subgroup of Extinction Rebellion Scotland. So this is just a screenshot from Extinction Rebellion Scotland's website. So they've recently put up this tab, which is just about COP26. So on this tab, they've got just information about what they're going to be doing, but also how you can sign up. So that's if you want to sign up as an individual, or if you want to find an affinity group. So a lot of the people here would be in the Glasgow affinity group. But then also they have one specific to COP organised, they're organising their events. What else is there to say? Yes, so XR COP Global, which is kind of going to be XR groups from across the world, they're hosting a Zoom on Thursday at 5 p.m. And that's kind of just to discuss COP, basically, and actions that they're going to plan for those kind of 2 weeks. So if you're interested in that, that would be on the email that we'll send out afterwards if you sign up to get an email. And yeah, that's just on Thursday at 4 p.m. And then this is just if you scroll down to further down that page, they've got practical information about the stuff that they're going to be running. So again, it's kind of, I think I would just recommend if you are interested in that, just to go and explore what you think you want to get involved with. A lot of this stuff will be run in support with COP Coalition, so you kind of can choose what you want to sign up to. If you want to sign up to everything, that's also great.
And then just there you see the COP26 online home sharing platform. So as we mentioned earlier, it's really important that if we have capacity to host people, and that we do it in a way that people can afford to come and stay in Glasgow, whose voices are really important and need to be heard at this event, basically. So if you can stay with a friend and offer up your room, or if you can offer up a couch or something like that, I'm sure it would be appreciated. So maybe just consider that as well. And then the university XR group. So that's where I'm from today. We have a meeting tomorrow, it's at 6. So if you want, you can go to the COP Coalition meeting at 5, and then you can come to ours at 6. It's going to be in GUU dining room, and we're going to discuss what we want to do this year as actions. We have some ideas going around, and we're kind of getting those planned out. But if you want to find out more information about that, it's probably a good idea to come to the meeting tomorrow. And we'll also talk about what we want to kind of run during COP.